Aaron Rodgers will be a Jet. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a post-Pat McAfee episode of Lombardi Time Brews. I'm your host, Sean Delray. Yes, for this Packer podcast today, we're just going to break down. Aaron Rodgers just got done talking on Pat McAfee, so of course there's going to be a little bit of time between McAfee being done and me needing a little bit of time to, talk and get it up to YouTube. But basically, here's the deal. Aaron Rodgers acknowledges that it has been known by all parties, or that his intention has been known since last Friday, that he is going to play. And he's going to play for the New York Jets. I mean, yeah, we already knew that, right? Was there a sliver of potential that he may retire today? Yeah. I don't think there was any sliver of potential that he was going to be coming back to the Packers, although some people believe that there was. That's obviously out. Look, he's going to play for the Jets, assuming that the Packers and Jets can finish working out this trade. So I want to take you through the McAfee appearance, my opinion of things. I'm already seeing all the social channels that I follow for the Packers, be it Twitter, Reddit, etc. All of them are just aglow right now with the wildly varied opinions saying that the Packers are completely and utterly at fault, that Aaron is a jerk. I mean, the truth is probably... there have been a lot of times where Rodgers has appeared on McAfee and he said things and I've gone, well, that's some spin. Or even last year, right about this time, when he appeared on McAfee and said, the contract extension I'm getting is team friendly. Well, once we got that contract, it wasn't so team friendly. It had a low cap number, but that's about it. So, look. Today, I think the truth is kind of what he was saying. Aaron Rodgers is going to the Jets. The Packers and Jets are working on a trade. Let's cover first why that trade hasn't happened yet. According to Aaron, as far as he knows, that the holdup is that the Packers are holding out for more compensation. And if you watched McAfee, you'll notice that McAfee and his panel of bros were all talking they were trying to rev stuff up. And I'm going to talk about that again in a little bit. They were actively trying to kind of goat Rodgers into more extreme opinions or showing some kind of emotion. They wanted some bombshells to drop. And that's their job, right? If Aaron Rodgers goes on there and goes scorched earth, the ratings are going to be through the roof. So they were trying, right, to get Rodgers to say a little something, and most times Rodgers just wouldn't bite. And so, even there was a moment there where McAfee and the panel were like, it's the Packers' fault, and Aaron went, well, I'm not really shocked. I mean, I'm certainly in the debate for best player in the history of the franchise, which is true, and I'm unquestionably the longest tenured Green Bay Packer. Also true. And then he, of course I'm paraphrasing, but he said something to the effect of of course I'm not surprised that they're trying to get as much as they possibly can to help with their transition forward post me. And then all the boys were like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Well, yeah, no kidding it makes sense. Because even in that moment, McAfee was like, oh, now the Packers have no leverage. Oh my goodness. I have been talking for weeks about how the Green Bay Packers do hold leverage. No matter what you are told, no matter what anyone is saying, the Green Bay Packers have the thing that a different team wants. That is inherent leverage. Right? That's it. That's leverage in and of itself. And now, as more quarterbacks have gone off the board, the Jets are obviously all in. There's nowhere else for them to go get a quarterback. What, you're going to go get Ryan Tannehill after doing all this with Rodgers? No. You're getting Rodgers. So now the Packers are sitting there going, you are going to pay what we want you to pay. And Rodgers is kind of sitting there going, I want to go to the Jets, but I very much understand the Packers demanding a lot for me. And there you have it. This is the stalemate, and that's not at all surprising, right? The expectation here is that the Jets are probably going to buckle. I mean, Schefter reported this morning that the Packers want 2 first-round picks. I think that's a load of crap. Pelissero came out a little bit after. See, Schefter probably talked to someone at the Jets, and then they amplified the offer and said, the Packers want the moon! And then Schefter showed up on TV and said, they want 2 firsts like the Stafford deal, which McAfee brought up. And then Tom Pelissero came on NFL Network a little bit later and went, no, they don't want multiple firsts. So Pelissero talked to someone like in the Packer front office, and this is the way this goes, right? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle of like the Packers want the Jets' first round pick. And kind of what I've been proposing all along is the middle ground is Jets 1, someone on a rookie deal, or a veteran dump and then a conditional pick. Probably going to wind up being somewhere around that, I would think, at least close-ish. Who knows, but I think it's going to be that. So here you have your stalemate, okay? Ultimately, at the end of the day, Rodgers is going to be a Jet. He went on McAfee today to update where things are and to truly start saying goodbye. He's been with the Green Bay Packers for 18 years. Their starter for, what? I can't do the math right now. I got way too many floats going. But he's been a Green Bay Packer. He's one of the most iconic players in franchise history. And this is not going to be the episode where I'm going to sit here and mourn and reminisce and all that stuff. There will be time for that later. Today is about the news. Today is about what Aaron Rodgers has said. And today was truthfully the point where like he wanted to get on there, straighten some things out, clarify that he is going to the Jets, eliminate all of these other options, and start saying goodbye. And I think his goodbye was incredibly genuine. He did break down his timeline of events, and he said, throughout the course of this last season, they were trying to make that push towards the end of the year, and then they lost to Detroit, they got bounced. He did say that he was leaning retirement throughout the course of the year. And even entering the darkness, he was 90% retirement. Walking off the field for the last time with Cobb, or keeping his own jersey, all of that was purposeful because Rodgers at the time was leaning retirement, like was pretty widely speculated. Then he goes in, and according to Aaron's timeline of events, then the season gets done, he sits down, he has a conversation with the Packers, and the Packers say, hey, open door for you, man. You're welcome to come back. Now, he did allude to the fact that the Packers, somewhere along the line, either did or didn't say it, or it's the feeling he got or whatever, did say something effective like, but we're not bringing back all your old friends. As we kind of guessed at the time, right? So, Rodgers is at the end of the season. He's sitting down with the Packers. Packers are saying, we love you, man. Come on back. And the door is open for you. And Rodgers later on did clarify that there is a difference between standing on a table and saying you want someone back and merely just opening the door for them to walk through. And he's right. We've talked about that on this channel a lot. That the Packers' indifference is not wanting him back. We've seen in years past where they need to stand on a table and do the Tom Cruise at the Oprah Winfrey interview where they need to jump up and down on a couch and say, we love him, we love him, we love him, come back. But they didn't do that this season. We all know that. And that in and of itself was a message to Rodgers. And he said he felt that throughout the year, which explains why in almost every single interview, Aaron Rodgers talked about needing to feel the mutual love with the Green Bay Packers. It was kind of clear he wasn't feeling it. We all got that vibe at the end of the season, too. Just from things that were being said, the way in interviews, things were different. Okay, so anyway, at least the season ends. Rodgers is under the impression that, he at least has an open door to walk through. Maybe they're not jumping up and down on tables, but, there's an open door to walk through. And then he goes into the darkness and he's saying to himself, damn, I'm old. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I don't think the Packers want me anymore. And he goes into the darkness and he's 90% retirement. And then as he's in there, he begins to come to the revelation that that competitive fire is still there. But he needs to see how his body's going to do, right? He comes out, and all of a sudden, he said that he turns on his phone for the first time in that one-bar reception area, and he's got hundreds of texts and emails and the whole lot, right? And he even has a few messages from former players, people in the NFL that he completely trusts, that says, hey, the Packers are shopping you. And so here's what happened, really. And we've speculated this. The Packers wanted to keep the door open. And that's what they told Aaron. But as time wore on, that door just began to get pushed until the Packers are the ones who closed it. And they didn't do it by directly sitting Aaron down and saying, You're done. Nah, they indirectly did. And Aaron did mention that he wished that the Packers would have sat him down at the end of the season and said, dude, we love you. We're moving to Jordan. But the Packers didn't do that. The Packers wanted to keep the door open. Like I said, what was it, 2 weeks ago? I said, here's what the Packers are doing. The Packers are doing that thing in a relationship where they don't want to be the one to break up. So they're going to push it away, sabotage it until you break up with us. And that's exactly what it sounds like happened here. Aaron Rodgers went into the darkness, turned off his phone for 5 days. The Packers leaked a whole bunch of stuff saying we don't necessarily want Aaron Rodgers anymore. Then they started shopping him. Aaron Rodgers comes out to all of these rumors, a few people that he trusts in the NFL saying, yes, indeed, they are shopping you. And Aaron goes, oh, we're like this. So my suspicion, my skepticism, my vibes that I've been receiving from the Packers all year that they don't want me to be quarterback anymore must actually be true. So then he had to evaluate. He had to say, all right, if it's not going to be the Packers, if I truly am moving on, if I'm going to another team, what does it look like? Where should it be? Can my body handle it? So he started doing his workouts. And Rodgers did admit towards the end of the interview that other teams were involved. It wasn't just the Jets. I mean, it was never just the Jets. And he did acknowledge that, yes, the Raiders... I mean, he didn't say it. Pat definitely got him to confirm it, though, with his eyes. That the Raiders and Devontae Adams were one of them. Now, let's address the wish list. Okay. Yesterday, it was broken by Diana Rossini, and I talked about it on the channel that Aaron Rodgers had this wish list that he had supplied the Jets. Now, when that was reported, I did not necessarily suspect that Aaron Rodgers wrote down in like a Microsoft Word document, I need, in order to play, Al Lazard, Randall Cobb, Mercedes Lewis, and Odell Beckham Jr., and then he sent it off to the Jets. No, according to Aaron, what actually happened here is the Jets asked him about, hey, who do you want? Or, what do you think of Mercedes Lewis? What do you think of Randall Cobb? And Aaron Rodgers went, yes, please. I would love that. Sounds great. I like him. Probably was stronger than that. I know that's some hyperbole, but realistically, there was a conversation between the Jets and Rodgers. And Rodgers probably said to the Jets, hey, you're going to make my life a heck of a lot easier. Look, I'm coming to you. We both know it. But you're going to make my life a heck of a lot easier, and I'm going to be a lot happier if you go get this list of friends for me. And the Jets went, aye, aye, Capitan. I think that's actually fairly reasonable. Because that doesn't sound a lot different than what Tom Brady did with the Buccaneers or other great quarterbacks have done throughout their careers. It's just this kind of the way things go. You want there to be a certain level of familiarity. Now, again, I will point out, like I said yesterday, who was on that list, it's all rumors, right? It is kind of interesting. But it's not surprising. So, let's move on to the next point. You know, there is one thing that I will address, and that's Aaron Rodgers seemed to truly be in a place of this being bittersweet for him. I don't believe that he wanted to leave Green Bay. I think he wanted to retire a Packer. And then I think he came out and he never said it, but the gut feeling was probably return until he saw the news that the Packers were moving on. That was probably quite the adjustment for him. And I even said the other day, part of the reason why this may have taken so long was because he had to make a whole new decision based upon learning new info that the Packers don't want him. But the thing that I'll take away from this most is Aaron Rodgers, this was his first goodbye. He sat there on McAfee. He did not trash the Packers. He did make a couple things perfectly clear. And one of them was the fact that, like, this is not Bob Harlan's and Ted Thompson's Green Bay Packers anymore. You know, he listed off what the front office was at the time when he was drafted. And it was Ted Thompson, John Dorsey, Elliott Wolf, Reggie McKenzie. I mean, all these big names that went on to be GMs. One thing I will point out is I do believe, I need to check this, but I'm fairly certain that Brian Gutekunst was in the front office at that time. Rodgers never said it. I'm pretty certain he was. Ignore me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty certain. So Rodgers did make the distinction of like, these are not the Packers that drafted me. This is not the same organization. This is not the same CEO. You know, Mark Murphy got Rodgers into the job along with Ted Thompson at the time. I mean, Ted drafted Rodgers, but then when there was the Favre saga, Mark Murphy certainly oversaw that and got Rodgers into the job. And of which I will say too, like it was Connor who brought up one of McAfee's boys, Connor, who talked about thanks Mark Murphy for pushing Rodgers to the Jets, and Rodgers kind of bucked that. He did not join on the bandwagon of saying anything negative about Mark Murphy. I just wanted to point that out. He could have very easily, and he could have said that he was offended by Murphy's comments last weekend. He could have, but he didn't. And I do think that that's important. Rodgers is very, very purposeful. And going along with that line of purposeful, Aaron Rodgers never, as he's going through, he was talking about who he's going to miss. And he mentioned like guys in the training room, guys doing this. Like he mentioned quite a few names. You know who he never, ever mentioned? Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst, or Mark Murphy. He did talk about Hackett quite a bit because he was asked, did that mean something to you? And Rodgers went, no. Like at the time, no. Is it certainly a plus for me to go work there? Absolutely. But at the time, was it like, oh, they hired Hackett, I'm going to the Jets? No. But now that he needs to go find other employment, the fact that Hackett is there is a big deal. And he talked so glowingly about Nathaniel Hackett, saying, sorry, I lost the exact quote here. It's somewhere in all of my notes, but saying that Hackett was one of the finest men and coaches that he had ever been around. And that he's thrilled to go have the opportunity to spend time with Hackett again. And when McAfee kind of alluded to the fact of well, the Jets just hired Hackett to get you, Rodgers pushed hard against that, telling McAfee that if there's any statement that's been said today that I'm going to be offended by, it's that one. Because that completely undersells the ability of Nathaniel Hackett to connect people and design an offense. And I thought that was fascinating. Look, a lot of this has kind of broken down exactly how we thought it was going to. We've been saying the vibes around the Packers this year were different. End of the season felt different. Rodgers' last press conference felt like a retirement. Well, now we know he was leaning retirement at the time. Now we know the Packers were truly beginning to feel out like this is going to be it. And all of the reports about the Packers are moving on. The Packers are shopping Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. They were true. The Packers were intentionally creating a distance to not be the bad guy. But hey, even as Aaron Rodgers said, there is no bad guy here. And I really believe that. Aaron Rodgers wants to continue playing football. All the power to him. By all means, go right ahead. The Green Bay Packers want to transition from a 39-year-old quarterback to a significantly younger one that matches the rest of their roster. All the power to them. They have the right to do it. So now you work out a trade, and you move on. And you remember the good times. You appreciate them. But just because it's time to move on and you have to do something hard doesn't make it the wrong thing to do. And this is it for the Packers, and this is it for Rodgers. So it's time. One quick mention that I will say, Aaron Rodgers, specifically to Packers news, okay? Aaron Rodgers, when talking about Jordan Love, did say he's going to be great. Said that he's a great effing kid. I think that that's important. I really do. There was not even a remote hint that I picked up, at least watching him, of Rodgers being sarcastic with that, holding anything against Jordan. Rodgers knows the game. He was that guy. And Rodgers, very well, we know how intentional he is with his wording. very, very well could have sat there and said, look, they want to get younger. They want Jordan to go out there and play, and he needs to play. But the Packers want to see what they have with him. Because that would have been a perfectly accepted answer. But he didn't. He said Jordan Love's going to be great. He's going to be a good quarterback. He's a great kid. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Jet. We still need to know what the compensation is. It's still freaking coming. But look, today's not the day for morning. Today is the day for news. So I am going to be back in a couple of days. What day is it even? What day? Today's Wednesday. So we'll see. If compensation news breaks, you'll hear from me certainly. Otherwise, you're probably going to hear from me next on Friday. And if there's really no news, maybe Friday will be the episode that we look back on the Green Bay Packers time with Aaron Rodgers as we begin to move forward. I hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. Thanks for joining me here on Lombardi Time Brews, and as always, go Pack Go.